Welcome to the Arts Access Florida podcast. I'm your host, Makenna Kirsch. This podcast supports the art nonprofits and artists around us. We strive to amplify different voices in our community by creating a space for conversation, education, and connection. Support for Arts Access Florida comes from Community Foundation Tampa Bay, Champions of Philanthropy. Learn more at cftampabay.org. In this episode, we speak to Makenna Kirsch, a Bachelor of Fine Arts major and dance minor at the University of Central Florida. I happen to already know Makenna, as we both used to be former students at the same dance studio. Now, as a senior in college, we talk about her love of music, theater, and dance, her college experience during COVID, and her goals to reach new heights in her art.
I'm Makenna Kirsch. I'm based out of Orlando, and I am a senior getting my BFA in musical theater from UCF.
We both obviously have a love for dance. So can you tell me why or when you first got into dance?
My parents put me in dance at like a very young age, and I kind of just stuck with it. I just really liked dancing. I tried other things like, gymnastics, soccer here and there, but dance was like what really stuck with me. And then as I kind of grew up, I was just like, oh, this is like, I really like doing this. This is like what I want to do. So, my parents just kind of got me into it as a kid, little mommy and me classes, but it really stuck with me.
Did you have like a favorite type of class when you were growing up?
I always really liked jazz.
Yeah.
Jazz and like musical theater style jazz was like definitely my thing. I think when I got into like high school, I went to center stage. I really liked contemporary because it was so there.
Yeah.
But definitely like jazz and musical theater were like my thing.
How many years of dance like study, I guess, do you think you've had by now?
I mean, I'm 21, so I would probably go ahead and say about like 18 or 19 years.
Wow, that's so
since
crazy.
Being so little, but like formal dance training, I would say like probably 10 or 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with all your training, since you know how, and I do too, I know how like fulfilling it could be, but also how difficult it is. What do you love most about dance?
I think I really love the expression, and it was definitely a way for me to like kind of escape from whatever was happening like at school or at home or whatever. Was like I would come to dance classes, and that was like just a way for me to like let loose, express myself.
Yeah.
I still to this day, that is like my favorite thing about dance and getting into dance classes is just like the freedom and the exploration.
Right. Yeah, I agree. I feel like I too tried so many other things, and that was the only one I really stuck with. And I also did musical theater. I don't know if I told you that.
Really?
Yeah, I did musical theater in high school, and
Okay.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And my dad would always say, he's like, that's when I see you the happiest, when you're like, when you get to dance and sing and kind of act, like that's like what you really enjoy doing. It is the most freeing activity, at least for me and for you as well. So I know you sing only from your senior like solo situation.
Oh yeah.
I remember you like you kind of performed it. It was like a musical theater. It was so good. I remember it really clearly. But like, when did you first start to realize that you liked to sing?
Growing up, my dad, he plays the guitar and he sings. So like my parents have videos of me like singing with my dad or like just singing on my own. But when I got into middle school, I did like choir, and at my studio before, they had like a glee club. So we would like sing in the glee club. My mom put me in there because she was like, you sing a lot at home. Like, let's try and see if you can sing with like a group of people. And I really, really liked that. So I think it was like somewhere around middle school that I started to be like, okay, I actually really like singing. And then I auditioned for theater in high school. So that's when it like really opened up the world of singing for me. But yeah, I feel like I was kind of influenced throughout my whole life, but like
Mhm.
really realized that I liked to sing in like middle schoolish when I did
Okay.
choir.
What do
Yeah.
you like about singing? Like, I mean, I don't really know, and I'm not sure if whoever's listening knows, like what is like the technical part about singing? And wondering, is there like, do you enjoy that or do you love just like singing in general?
Yeah, I think it's more so for me just like it's almost kind of like dance with how it's like very like expressive and especially when I'm singing like musical theater songs, like they tell a story. So I
Yeah.
get to like put on a whole new character and like that's and then play around with like how my voice sounds as that character. So like that's fun too.
Yeah.
Um but it's also cool, like especially through now I never had voice lessons growing up.
Mhm.
I only got voice lessons when I got to college, which for I didn't know this, but for people who are like pursuing musical theater isn't the
Mhm.
common experience.
Yeah.
Got here and people were like, wait, you've never had like voice lessons? And I was like, no. And apparently most people that are like pursuing or doing BFAs or anything like that have like been in voice lessons. Um,
Okay. Oh, they've
so
been pursuing it for a long time. Like
a
they were like
while,
you.
yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like I kind of like tossed myself into it.
Yeah.
But through voice lessons, it's cool to see how doing certain things with my voice can change the way I sound completely. And like I've watched myself technically grow through the last 4 years. Whereas like I may have instead of like being super trained, I may have been hurting my voice before, and now
Right.
everything is very like effortless and it doesn't hurt to sing, which is really cool. So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So to take it back a little, so you said you started a musical theater, was it like a musical theater program in high school?
Yeah.
So what was that experience like?
So my high I went to a public high school and they had a theater program that was very like um what would I say? Like people talked highly of it.
Yeah.
They were good.
Yeah.
Um, especially for like a public school when we had like private schools around, or not private schools, but well we did have private schools, but like Blake and stuff that
Performing
had
arts schools. Yeah.
performing arts programs. Yeah. And my mom was like, "Oh, you should audition for the theater program. Like I think that would be really good for you." And I auditioned and I got in. And at the time I was switching dance studios. And I went to like the first week of the class and I literally told my mom I came home and I was like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is way too much commitment for me because they were like, we go to this competition and we do 4 shows a year and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, that is too much involvement. Like, I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. And my mom, I literally went to the director of the program and was like, I think I'm going to drop. And she was like, oh, okay, if you want to do that, that's fine. That's up to you. I went to my mom. My mom was like, absolutely not. You're not a quitter.
Get in
So I was
there.
like, fine, I'll stick through it. And then I had like the best 4 years of my life and
Yeah.
completely changed my career path. Because I never really like wanted to like pursue performing, and that program really made me want to do it. I performed in every show that I could there. I ended up being the president of the program by the end. We consistently went to like conferences and competitions and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just a really fun experience. I met a lot of really great friends through that program. And yeah, it completely changed my vision of what I wanted my whole like future to be.
What's the lesson you think you can maybe teach to others about that? Because a lot of people want to quit things and
Mhm.
then it kind of turns out being something they love, but there also is like a lesson in knowing when something is done for you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like, do you have any advice on that for, other people in your, age group and your peers who are kind of trying to figure out what they want to do?
I've always kind of been that person that was like, trust my gut kind of thing. And it gets hard, and especially performing arts. Like it gets hard and you want to quit. But if you really want it, you just got to push through. And I think there does come a time when you're like, you know what, this might not be for me in any aspect of life. And you have to trust your gut on that situation. And if you know that it is not your time, then you can move on to something else. There's always other things out there for everybody. But when it gets hard, just pushing through is like the best thing to do. And then if you push through and get to the other side and you're like, oh, I still don't really like this, then that's okay. But you might find that like something else greater or better is waiting for you over there. So
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, because you never know. Sometimes it's just good to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and then you can see at the end of it, like, is it something you want or don't want? And either way, you like still learn something. So it's never really,
exactly.
it's not a waste of time, kids.
Right.
You have more time than you think. That's the hard thing to remember. I feel like at that, like, 18 to like 25 age, it feels like everything you have to make all these decisions, and you have a lot more time than you think. Now you're at UCF and you're
Mhm.
getting a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Musical Theater with a minor
Yes.
in dance, which sounds really fun and probably really exhausting. And
Yes.
also, um, what has your college experience been like so far? And are you a senior now?
Yeah,
Almost?
I am a senior.
Wow, time is flying. This is
I know
not.
I have like 2 or 3 months left. I'm pushing through to the end.
Yeah. How's it
Um,
been?
I have had a really interesting experience because of course COVID and everything. So like I had my first semester of my freshman year and I was like so excited. I'm like, woo, let's go college in a dorm and everything. And then we were at home and online for a year and a half. And then a whole nother half, I would say about a year after that, that I actually ended up moving back to Orlando because I was like, I need to get out of my house. And we still were taking classes online, which is really challenging when you are a musical theater or an acting or dance major where it's so hands-on. Because like we were taking voice lessons through Zoom, we were taking dance classes through Zoom. So I definitely do feel like I missed out on like a big chunk of my experience. I do think though that my experience may have been completely different if I didn't have that. I don't know if for the better or for the worse. But um I have like mixed feelings about my path. But going back to what you were saying with the pushing through and getting through things, I'm like pushing through to graduation right now. Because there were definitely times when I wanted to drop out. It's a really, really challenging program. A lot of credit hours, and I also am working obviously part-time, and I'm a performer at Universal, so that's what I was doing, and I also was working at SeaWorld for a second there. Plus I had like an actual part-time job, so it was just like a lot of things all together in these past like 2 years when we got back to in-person classes. And I wouldn't say that my program was the most receptive of me pursuing performing at the theme parks, because they really wanted me to focus on the program. But I somehow found a way to do both, even though it ends up with me being exhausted. This week specifically was one where I was like in and out of classes, rehearsals, overnights at Universal, like just a bunch of crazy stuff. And but I really enjoyed my experience with the program and the people that I've met. I think there are some classes that I would not have been able to get if I didn't pursue this degree, that have taught me a lot about like auditioning, um, uh, resumes, headshots, like just how to put your book together, how to put your portfolios together, building a website and all that kind of stuff. Like that stuff was really, really practical for me. And then I also got well, not free, we paid for them obviously, but we got in-house accompanists and voice lessons and private voice lessons, which were really helpful. Like my voice has grown so much being here. So yeah, I definitely have my mixed feelings about getting my BFA, but overall, I would say that it really helped me, and the program did really help me grow as a person and as a performer. Yeah.
I kind of forgot. I didn't forget about COVID, but I kind of forgot that that occurred, and like so much of that time was like kind of, I don't want to say it was stolen from you guys because that sounds so terrible. In a way it was,
Kind of was, yeah.
and I hate to say it because I remember around then, like the kids who were still in high school having to miss like their proms and even their
Yeah.
graduations. And
Yep.
I remember you and kind of your group. I think you had just left for college. Yeah,
Yep.
were you freshmen?
Yes.
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God, did they just go home? Like I didn't really know what happened. And then I didn't think about like it wasn't just that 6 to 8 month or year period. It was like 2 years of time.
Yes.
Um,
And
wow.
it was almost in like the blink of an eye. Like
Yeah.
we went home for spring break and then they were like, you guys can't come back.
Yeah.
And then like this is so bad. My mom and I like literally snuck onto campus to get my stuff out of the dorms because I was like, I gotta get my stuff. If we're not coming
Yeah.
back, I'm getting my stuff
Getting my
now.
stuff.
Yeah. So like we
Um,
went back and got my stuff and like I mean my I have videos of like me taking dance classes in my garage and like recording my acting stuff outside in the backyard and stuff. So it was definitely a crazy experience.
Wow. Well, good for you that you made it through because
Yeah.
I can only imagine how difficult that would have been. And also with performing arts, I mean, a big part of it is performing in front of other people. So you can get
Mhm.
used to it and you can take feedback to your face, which I know you've already had that experience, but still, like it helps grow character in that way. So to have to do it over like a screen, which is also pretty awkward, is
Yep.
a lot to do, but good for you for you're almost there. So that's
Almost there.
you're almost there, just
So
hanging
close.
there. I remember those last few months of college and it's a little bit like, but you're gonna do
Yeah.
it. You got it. Since you are a student artist, what are some aspirations you have for yourself in your future without, putting so much pressure on yourself? But what are some things you do want to try and do in the next few years?
Yeah. Um, I I feel like I have kind of set myself like a plan of or like a chart of what I would kind of want to do. So obviously right now I'm working at the theme parks. And I would be perfectly content staying in Orlando and doing that for a little bit longer because there really is so many great offerings in Orlando.
There are. Hmm.
For performing for theaters, for theme parks, for dinner theaters. I mean, it's great. There's so many opportunities. But I would really like to get on a cruise. That would be like top tier gig for me because I want to travel. I want to save money.
Hmm.
And my roommate right now, she's done like 6 cruise contracts and she's like, it's the best experience ever.
Yeah.
Um, so I would really like to do that, but I also definitely want to do the New York thing. I want to go there. I want to be able to audition. I would love to try to be in a national tour or on Broadway at some point. I think that would be so cool. I've also been kind of getting into the like commercial and screen work
Hmm.
side of it recently, which never was really something that I really wanted to do. Being a musical theater major, we don't get as much of that focus. That's more so for the acting majors.
Yeah.
But during COVID, when everything went to like video recordings and everything, I started submitting for some like commercial gigs and stuff here and there. So I've been kind of enjoying doing those self tapes and sending that stuff in too. So I'm like kind of dabbling in that, but I more so
Yeah.
would like to focus towards stage performance. So yeah, we'll see if I can get on a cruise line. That'd be really cool for at least like right out of college. But at some point I would like to think big and go to New York.
Cool. I love it. It sounds great. I think
Yeah.
it sounds fun, and I think it sounds like a great idea. I hope it works out. I hope it's everything you're looking for. I'm sure something will work out, even if it's not what you were planned. I'm sure you'll find yourself on the right path at some point.
Right. I definitely stand by the success is very subjective to
Mhm.
everybody because one person's vision of success might be rich and famous on Broadway, getting every single lead, and another person's idea of success very well is being a professor at a school and teaching students and, you know, educating the next generation.
Yeah.
And, you know, my idea of what I want for myself is just to be happy with whatever I'm doing and be able
Yeah.
to sustain myself with whatever I'm
Right.
doing.
Hmm.
So whether that's me being here in Orlando or that is me being in New York, I very much am like everything happens for a reason and
Yeah.
your moment comes when it's supposed to.
Is there any advice that you haven't said yet that you want to give to your peers?
For the younger people, if you are looking to pursue a BFA and are trying to decide if that's something you really want to do, stick to it. It's a great opportunity and you get your degree. But if you don't want to do it, say la vie. You're gonna book either way as long as you are talented and persevere.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. This was really fun. Thank you for listening. Learn more about our guests in the show notes. Follow us on any social platform by searching Arts Access Florida or on our website, artsAXISFL.org. We are a product of WUSF Public Media and sponsored by Community Foundation Tampa Bay and Gobioff Foundation. Copyright 2023, WUSF Public Media.